What's up, everyone? Pags here at MEI Studio. This week we're going to look at a vintage, non-vintage mic that's also no longer in production, but it's a little more hard to come by these days. Talking about the Shure 5575 LE. Let's take a look at what comes in the box of the 5575. The Shure 5575 comes in an enormous red box that's adorned with a bunch of artwork from the 1930s and 40s. It's basically advertisements that were served up for the mic when it was released back in 1939. Inside the box we find an envelope that contains a bunch of paperwork. In here we'll find a datasheet copy for the current mic that looks in the style of the original datasheet for the 1939 version of the 55. In addition, we have a couple of high-gloss photos with a certificate of authenticity from Rose Shure. Also in the box was some other paperwork that clearly wasn't intended for the US market. And underneath we find two other boxes, the case and this smaller box. Inside the smaller box we find a small Art Deco looking retro stand. The stand is designed to hold any of the 55 series microphones and have a cable come out of the back of it. This cable is also included as a pigtail that you can connect from underneath the stand, which will come out the back. Finally, we have the main case for the microphone that sports the Unidyne logo. And inside this massive case, we find the microphone and a set of keys for the case. The microphone is extremely sturdy, heavy, and well built, made out of all metal. It features a red insert for the grill filter. And this mic is on the big side. We compare here to an SM57 and you can see how big this actually is. The mic looks great on the Art Deco stand that's included, and that's what's in the box. While we looked at the history of the Unidyne capsule in our video on the SM57, today we're going to look at Shure as a company for a minute and then this beast of a mic. Shure Radio Company was founded on April 25th, 1925 by Sidney N. Shure. It was a one-man operation selling AM radio kits and parts from downtown Chicago. Within a year or so, Sidney published his first direct mail-order catalog, which was one of only 6 mail-order radio companies at the time. In the span of 3 years, from 1925 to 1928, the company grew from having 1 employee to over 75. Sidney's brother Samuel joined, and they renamed the company to Shure Brothers Company. When the market crash in 1929 hit, the company also took a hit, having to reduce their staff and change their business plan up a bit. They began to distribute Ellis Electrical Laboratories microphone products. The following year, 1930, Samuel would leave the company. However, the company name stayed Shure Brothers. Sidney and Ralph Clover, a company engineer, began working on designing microphones of their own, and by 1932 they released the Model 33N, a carbon microphone, making Shure one of only 4 companies in the United States manufacturing microphones. The 1930s saw the company release their first crystal and condenser microphones and unique suspension mount for these mics, which awarded them their first patent. At the end of the decade, 1939, a truly unique product was released and is the subject of today's video, the Model 55. The company would go on to help the war effort during the Second World War by producing microphones for the military, much the same as Electro Voice did. Following the war, Shure became one of, if not the biggest distributor and manufacturer of phonograph cartridges in the US. By the end of the 40s, Shure would release another iconic microphone and probably one of the worst sounding mics I've ever heard, the 520, more commonly known as the Green Bullet. We'll eventually get to that one day and the single thing that mic is good for. Anyway, as the technology advanced, the Unidyne capsule was able to be shrunk down and a smaller version, the 55S, was released at the beginning of the 1950s. And by the end of that decade, they had shrunk it even further, releasing the first end-address Unidyne, the Unidyne 3 Model 545. This is the predecessor to the SM57 and 58, which were released in the 1960s. Shure began branching out again during the 60s and creating PA systems to go along with their market-dominating microphone selection. The 70s saw another couple of classic mics released, the SM7, which would be superseded by the SM7B later on, and one of my favorite STCs, the Shure SM81. The 80s saw Shure expand globally, setting up manufacturing in Mexico, and as we saw from our EV-ND video, again, at the end of the decade, Shure released another new product line, the Beta microphones featuring neodymium magnets. It seems like Shure is always waiting till the end of the decade to drop something major. Sidney would pass away in 1995 at the age of 93. The title of chairman of the board would be passed to his wife Rose, who would sit at the helm of the company until her passing in 2016. The company, now nearing its 100th anniversary, is still going strong to this day, producing new and exciting products, and remains an industry leader in the professional audio field. Now back to the mic. Inspired by the chromed-out automobile grills, which were all the rage in the 1930s, the design of the Unidyne Model 55 was perfect for the time. It set the standard for what people would think a microphone should look like. While RCA had the live and broadcast market in their pocket for years, the cardioid pattern of the 55 would prove to be a worthy opponent of the mainly bidirectional microphones of the day. While the RCA 77 had settings for directionality, the 55 was slightly more affordable. Since the cardioid pattern would reject signals from behind the mic, feedback and unwanted background noise was greatly reduced, resulting in the widespread adoption of the microphone by both live musicians and the broadcast world. The mic's design became the de facto image that would come to mind when someone would say the word microphone, even to this day. If you search Google Images for the word microphone, some variant of the 55 is always in the top 10. It's the default image for the Wikipedia entry for microphone. Its design has been copied by countless other manufacturers, both in the 20th century and into the 21st century. It's a timeless, cool design that has a character all its own. The mic was even featured on a number of US stamps with some of the greatest American musical artists: Mildred Bailey, Patsy Cline, Billie Holiday, and of course, Elvis Presley. After all, the mic is often referred to as the Elvis mic. The microphone has been in constant production from its inception in one form or another. Revisions in the size, capsule, impedance, polar pattern. One thing always remains: that cool chrome grille. In 2014, the 75th anniversary of the Model 55, Shure released a limited number, 5575 to be exact, of reissues, what some people call the Fathead 55. I was lucky enough to find one that hadn't been sold at a local music store. They had the mic on display in the case and weren't really sure if they still had the box which contained all the extras the mic came with. The sales guy went in the back and found the box sitting in a pile of other boxes waiting to be thrown into the compactor later that night. Lucky me. It's been a display piece for me ever since. Some of our clients have used it for photo shoots and one used it for a music video, but it really doesn't get used in the studio as it's kind of a special piece, but not to use it at all is also kind of a waste. The last video I spoke of a mic that really didn't have a purpose in the studio. Well, this is that mic. I bought it for collectability and its coolness factor, but I never really intended to actually use it. The mic is definitely appreciated in value over the years, thanks to the limited run, but it's something I doubt I'd sell. I wanted to come up with a demo for this video that kind of gave the feel for what mic choices might have been for a lounge singer in the early 40s in the US. I brought in a friend to the studio to sing some old standards that are now in the public domain, so hopefully YouTube doesn't hit me with a copyright strike. Now, since this mic doesn't come up all that often for sale, and when it does, it's usually pretty expensive, anywhere from $700 to more than $1,000 USD from what I've been seeing, depending on the condition. So I decided to add the current equivalent of the 5575, the Shure 55 SH2. Shure also makes a super cardioid version, the Super 55, but I wanted to keep things as close to apples as possible with this comparison, and I was kind of interested in hearing what the difference was myself between the two. Let's get to it.
I'm no good without you. Take these arms, I wanna lose them. Baby, just take these lips and don't abuse them. Oh, that your goodbye left me with eyes that cry go on, dear, without you. You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all love? Why not take all love? Why not take all of me? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of? Why not take all of? Why not take all of me? You took the part that once was my heart, so why not take all of? Why not take all of? Why not take all of me?
All right, let's get some discussion going on this. As an added bonus, we did the session with another late 40s style of microphone, our Peluso U47 clone. I'll leave links to these session files down below in the description, but I felt adding that mic into our comparison here just kind of wouldn't be fair. I mean, two dynamic mics versus the granddaddy of all condensers, yeah, not happening. We're all a bit spoiled in what we have available to us today at prices that can be described as dirt cheap. The mics that companies like Mono, Fine, Behringer, and others are putting out are just absolutely crazy at the under $200 price points we're dealing with. Back in 1939, the Model 55 sold for around $45. It's almost $1,000 in today's money. By comparison, the RCA 74B sold for only $19, or about $400 in 2023. An RCA 44BX or a 77 sold for around the $60 range, which would be around $1,400 now, and a U47 in the early 50s sold for almost $400, which would be around $4,000 now. But try to put yourself in the mindset of the 1940s and what it might have been like back then and how groundbreaking some of these mics were. I would love to get my hands on some equipment to make a carbon mic work so you can hear what these mics were up against. Oh wait, this mic, the Green Bullet, has a better frequency response than carbon microphones, if you can believe it. As always, if you've gotten anything from today's video, please hit that like and subscribe button. If you're interested in studio mics and other things audio related, hit that notify button so you'll be notified when we put up a new video. If you have any suggestions for a video or any questions regarding this one or anything else, again, please use that comment section or send us a message through our website. I'd love to hear from you. Well, that's it for this time. This is Pags, signing off.